Alright, so today I'm going to show you various ways you can color grade your iLog Luna Ultra footage in Davinci Resolve. I'm going to start with the easiest way first, and then I'm going to move up in complexity. And also, I am using the Luna Ultra today as my token head camera. I'm filming in iLog with ISO 400, and I'm slightly overexposing to the right just to keep the shadows as clean as possible. And also, I'm using the freewheel mist filter just to make skin tones a bit softer and also the overall highlights a bit softer in the shot. Anyways, let's get into Resolve and start with the grading. So first of all, I would highly recommend going to the project settings by clicking Shift 9, and then just make sure your timeline color space is set to Rec 709, and then also the output color space is set to Rec 709, just to keep it as easy as possible. If you want something with more flexibility, I'll show you a different method slightly later in the video, but for now, to keep it as simple as possible, especially if you are a beginner, just use Rec 709, Rec 709, and that's basically it. Next, you will have to go to Insta360.com and download the official LUT to convert iLog to Rec 709. Link is going to be down below. It is completely free. I already have the LUT on my computer. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to select this node in here, right click on it, go to LUT. In here, you're going to search basically for your LUT. In my case, I put it in Insta360 in here in this folder, and I'm going to select this Luna iLog to Rec 709 BT1886, which is basically going to convert iLog to Rec 709 Gamut 2.4. I would highly recommend to use the 65 version if your software supports it. This basically ensures the conversion is done in the highest quality. You can use 33, but it's a bit lower quality than 65 basically. So I'm going to select this. And as you can see, it is going to convert my iLog to Rec 709. But now we have a bit of a problem. It looks a bit too bright for me, and that was done on purpose when I was filming this, just to keep the shadows as clean as possible, because I did shoot this with ISO 400, and with that ISO value, you tend to get noise when you expose correctly, if you will. So I would highly recommend, slightly exposing to the right, and then in post-production you're going to bring down the exposure, which I'll show you now how to do it. It's super simple. First of all, let's rename this to LUT, and then I am going to add two nodes before the LUT by clicking twice Shift S. If you are using Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro, make sure the adjustments are done in the layer before the LUT to work in the widest dynamic range and the bigger color space basically, which is iLog. If you're going to work after this LUT, you're going to work in Rec 709. If you're going to work before this LUT, you're going to work in the iLog color space basically. Anyhow, I'm going to rename this exposure, and then this I'm going to rename WB for white balance. That's all I'm going to do basically to keep it as simple as possible. First of all, I'm going to select the exposure node in here, go to my primaries, color wheels, offset. Offset is a global exposure adjustment, and then I'm going to bring it down until it looks good, roughly, and somewhere around here looks good to me. And then I am going to adjust the white balance, because the white balance in here is a bit off. It's a bit too green and also yellow at the same time. I'm going to open the vector scope just to keep it as easy as possible. And the goal is to roughly put all of the colors somewhere in the middle of this cross in here. As you can see right now, it leans more towards like yellow and green. This is like yellow in here and green in here. I want it to be somewhere in the middle, a little bit more in the middle, if you will. So again, I'm going to use the offset wheel. I'm going to increase blue to subtract yellow. And then I am going to subtract green to increase the red in the shot. And I'm going to balance out everything with the red by subtracting red a little bit. Just going to play around with this a little bit. Just looking at the vector scope. Something like this looks good to me. Here is a before and after. Before and after, as you can see, a big difference. And here is a before and after with the exposure. Huge difference, as you can see. And here is a global before and after, before, after, before, after. Let's play it back. I think it looks fantastic. Alright, next I have some other clips in here, also shot with the Luna Ultra. I shot this with the 3x lens. I'm just going to show you how to apply these same adjustments to other clips on the timeline. I'm just going to select these two, like so, and I'm going to middle click on my first clip where I did the bulk of the adjustments. I'm going to click on that, middle click, and as you can see, it applied everything for me. Now in here, I will have to do some adjustments like white balance. It's a bit off. It's a bit too blue for me. So I'm going to subtract a bit of blue. And I'm going to increase a bit of red. Just make it look normal, more or less. Something like this. This is pretty much perfect. Maybe actually, I can also go to the exposure node in here and increase the contrast with this contrast slider in the primaries color wheels. Something like so. And then here is the last clip. Already looks good in terms of like exposure, but it is a bit too blue and green. So I'm going to reduce the blue and also reduce the green. Something like this. Here is a before and after, before and after. Let's play it back. Looks awesome. So as you can see, it is very simple to just add a LUT and basically do exposure, contrast, and white balance adjustments in your editing software, or in my case in Resolve. But this will not add a specific look to your shot. You will not have like a specific look. This will just technically convert iLog to Rec 709, and then you're going to correctly adjust the exposure, contrast, and white balance to make it look normal, if you will. The goal with this is to make it look the same as how you saw it with your eyes when you were filming these clips, basically. If you want to get a specific look, I'm going to show you two ways. The first way, to keep it as simple as possible in Resolve, is by applying a node after the LUT. Not before, but after the LUT. And then in here, you're going to select the effects and search for Film Look Creator. You're going to apply that. And already, as you can see, it's going to apply like a look to your footage. I would highly recommend disabling halation, bloom, and grain, just to keep it a bit easier. And also it's a bit more intense on the processor, unless you want to play around with these, effects, if you will. I'm just gonna disable them for now. And then in here, you can play with these film looks, which basically act like creative LUTs, if you will. So cinematic, Rochester, this one is nice, Akasaka, Elated, Vintage, and Aurora. I think I'm gonna go for the Rochester one, but I am going to decrease the overall blend. It's a bit too strong for me. Let's put it around here, 0.555. As before and after, before and after. Looks nice, but now I think I'm going to slightly readjust the white balance because the colors shifted around a little bit. I'm going to go to the offset wheel in here again and just play with the white balance in here. Just make it look a bit better. That's it. Now here is a before and after, before and after. Let me apply this same adjustment to this clip, for example. I'm going to apply this. And as you can see, this is the FLC. Let me just rename this FLC. And now it's a bit too red. I'm going to subtract the red. And there you go. Here is a before and after. It definitely, cools down the shadows and slightly warms up the highlights. Here is another before and after, before and after. Let's do the same thing for this clip. I'm going to apply this. And as you can see, we have something. This looks too warm for me, honestly. I'm gonna go to Film Creator and select a different look. Yeah, this one is a bit better. I feel like Akasaka is going to work slightly better. And I'm going to slightly increase the blue and reduce the red. Just like so. Let's play it back. Looks fantastic. And now here is a before and after, before and after. Now, option number 2, if you want to support this channel, I have a LUT for iLog, which will convert iLog to Rec 709 and also will apply like a creative look at the same time in one LUT, basically. So let me show you how it works. Let me just take a screenshot of this just to compare. I'm gonna grab a still and then I'm gonna close this and I'm going to completely reset everything in here. And I'm gonna go to LUT, Insta360, and I'm gonna use my Roma Insta360 Luna Ultra iLog LUT 65 cube for the best results. And then again, this is a bit too bright. I'm gonna apply 2 nodes before the LUT, and then I'm going to adjust the exposure. And I'm also going to adjust the white balance. It's a bit too green. something like this, more or less. And now let's compare it to the other shot. Here is film creator, my LUT, film creator, my LUT. Let's apply this to this shot. Definitely, you know, a lot of cold in the shot. I'm gonna warm it up and slightly reduce the green, something like so, as you can see. And then I'm gonna apply it to this frame as well. It's a bit too dark, I feel like. Let me increase the exposure and also maybe subtract the contrast just a bit. As you can see, looks awesome. If you are interested in this LUT, link is going to be down below. It's only $10. And now let me show you like the pro workflow and how I would personally, you know, grade my iLog footage in Davinci Resolve. So first of all, you'll need to go back to the project settings by clicking Shift 9, and then you would need to set the timeline color space to Davinci with Gamut Intermediate, which is the widest color space in Davinci Resolve. And then I'm going to reset all of these. And now I'm going to apply my Node 3, my power grade, Aroma power grade, which I also sell. Link is going to be down below. But this is just to give you like a rough idea of how it works compared to using the LUTs, basically. First of all, in here we have like an IDT and then an ODT. So in here, in the IDT, I'm gonna put Rec 2020 and then use Insta360 iLog for the input gamma. Where is it? Here it is. And then for the ODT or DRT, it takes me from Davinci with Gamut Intermediate to Rex 109 Gamma 2.4 or BT 1886 basically. And I'm gonna do the same things as with the LUT, but here you have a bit more flexibility. You have a bit more nodes, a bit more tools, if you will. So first of all, I'm gonna adjust the exposure, slightly reduce the exposure, go in here. As you can see, like the adjustments also for the exposure are a bit more like gradual. It's a bit smoother, if you will. And then I'm going to go to FLC because I am using FLC with this power grade just to create like a look out of the box basically. I'm gonna select FX and just maybe look for a different preset. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stay with the Rochester one, the Akasaka one, sorry. And then I'm gonna readjust the white balance. I'm using here the linear gain white balance method to get the most accurate white balance adjustments. I'm gonna use the gain wheel and slightly reduce the red, and then just readjust the yellows in here and blues, something like so. The rest I can do highlights a bit just to play with the highlights. I'm gonna select the highlights and then I'm going to enable editable splines and just play with the highlights in here. As you can see, I can like compress the highlights if I want to, or make them a bit more contrasty. I feel like I'm gonna put it somewhere around here. Here is a before and after. Just makes the highlights a bit softer overall. And then also in here you have like a windows section if you want to apply certain windows to the frame. In here it's like a landscape, there is no need for windows. And then you can also increase the sharpness if you want to by going to the scaling slider and basically adjusting the scaling slider. I'm gonna set it around here because I feel like it's a bit too soft out of the box. And also if you want grain, you can enable this grain node, which is basically going to add film grain. As you can see, kind of looks nice actually with the grain for this clip. And of course, you can also go to this hue node in here and basically play around with specific colors in the frame. Like for example, I feel like these trees in here are a bit too warm, if you will. So I'm gonna go to the curves, use hue versus hue, and I'm going to select these warm colors in here. Just lock it in here and just going to play around with these colors. Just make these colors a bit more green than yellow, just slightly to make it look more natural a little bit. And also I am going to desaturate these colors slightly, just a little bit. And maybe also let's play with the blues. Can desaturate the blues, and I can also maybe shift the color of the blues in here, make it a bit more blue, something like this. So I think I'm gonna call it a day. Now if you are wondering, here is how it compares to the LUT edition that we've done a bit before. Here's the LUT, here is the power grade. LUT, power grade. The power grade looks a bit sharper because I increased the sharpness. You can do the same thing with the LUT. But I feel like if you want to get the absolute best results, you would definitely use something like this with the Davinci with Gamut intermediate color space, because it gives you access to all of the information within the footage. Basically with the LUT, it's a bit more restricting, and also if you're working with multiple cameras at the same time, it's a bit easier to convert everything to Davinci with Gamut intermediate and work basically with the same timeline color space. Again, if you are interested in this power grade or my LUTs, links are going to be down below, and hopefully this video was informative and useful. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching, and of course leave your comments and questions down below, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.